Woj tweeting that the Utah Jazz are now listening to trade offers for All-Star guard Donovan Mitchell. Woj following that up by tweeting, the asking price appears to be steep, but in the wake of Utah's recent Rudy Gobert blockbuster deal to Minnesota, the Jazz are no longer simply dismissing calls on Mitchell. That brings us to our NBA insider. We got Windy, we got Friedel ready to go. Windy, so you got a couple of very interesting little scenarios here that we can get into as far as Donovan Mitchell is concerned. One of them is complicated, but it is well worth the journey. What one is that?
Yeah, so the Jazz are presenting the face that they are sort of wading into the Donovan Mitchell trade discussion. The league, though, believes that they're in at their chest and eventually are going to trade him. And that leaves us with a fascinating scenario that's developing in the league. Right now, we have 4 teams looking to potentially get in on big-time transactions, and we got 4 players out there that could be involved in them. And so the question is, could this now with the Jazz actually presenting that they're willing to deal Mitchell, is there a deal to be done with these 4 teams? Can they come together and do this? And those 4 teams would be the Phoenix Suns, who we know are interested in Kevin Durant. The Indiana Pacers, who have been trying to do a DeAndre Ayton transaction, which has now been slowed by this, but they're interested in Ayton. The Utah Jazz, obviously, they have Mitchell in the game. And the Nets, who have Kevin Durant, potentially Kyrie Irving, but for the sake of this and Kevin Durant. The important thing about Donovan Mitchell is that he cannot be on the same team as Ben Simmons. So if there's a trade that happens with Donovan Mitchell ending up in Brooklyn, Ben Simmons would have to go out. So, Greeny, I could give you a whiteboard on this and explain how all this works. It's hard for 4 people to agree on where to go to dinner, especially how to put together a trade like this to get together. I'm a little bit skeptical that it would actually be executed, but I have to acknowledge that there is a workable solution that all those could get what they wanted. And a good factor in this is that Indiana, who I mentioned, has cap space. And so they can sort of be a leveraging point in addition to getting DeAndre Ayton. So we're going to watch to see if that can be put together. I'm skeptical. That leaves the other potential option that presents itself for Donovan Mitchell if that doesn't happen, and that is the New York Knicks. Now, in the trade for Rudy Gobert, the Jazz basically showed what their strategy is. They took back role players on expiring contracts to get 4 first-round picks in that deal. The New York Knicks have 8 tradable first-round picks and a need and a desire for a star player like Donovan Mitchell, who is from the New York area. Some people believe that this is an inevitability. It's just a matter of what price can be negotiated. Other teams are interested in Mitchell, and it could go a different direction. They could keep Mitchell, or at least posture they're going to keep Mitchell. But I think we're going to hear a lot about Donovan Mitchell and the New York Knicks in the coming days.
Okay, yeah. The New York Post, by the way, has already gone there. Chrissy, let's put it up. The New York Post already has Donovan Mitchell headed to New York, and not only does the Post, but I can tell you that right now, wherever he is on his vacation, Stephen A. Smith is losing his mind, having sat next to him all NBA season long. This is his dream moment come true. One way or another, though, Friedel, take me through this here, because we see the possibilities, and anytime you ask Windy the question, what's going on in Utah, everyone has to move forward a little bit and listen closely for the answer. But there are a lot of moving pieces in the air here, Friedel. Help us sort some of it out.
The key to me, Greeny, is this is the deal for Miami to make. I spent a lot of time in the postseason with the Heat. They got bogged down offensively. It was either Jimmy Butler or nothing. Donovan Mitchell would take pressure off of Jimmy, and he would get the offense to move a little bit more. What's even more crucial, you don't have to give up as much to get Donovan Mitchell as you potentially would for Kevin Durant. So Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, a boatload of picks, whatever it takes for Miami to get Mitchell, that makes a lot of sense because he gives them the other scorer to go to late. So I know it would fit with the Knicks, and I know Tibbs is losing his own mind trying to figure out how to make it work. But to me, the fit is in Miami.
Okay, so a lot of different possibilities here. I agree with you on that one, the Miami piece of all of this. But let's go backwards now, Windy. We had the Nets involved in all of that. And again, we put Ben Simmons on the screen there because he couldn't be on the same team with Donovan Mitchell. But really the moving pieces in Brooklyn are Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. If the Donovan Mitchell thing doesn't wind up resulting in their departure from Brooklyn, it certainly feels as though there is no momentum toward a trade. Could we be moving toward a place where they actually do what I said to you Monday they should, which is keep those guys together for
right behind Michael Jordan? Curry has this instinct, what I saw with Jordan, where anytime he has the ball, you think it's going to go in. He is a threat offensively. I think we've got 3 or 4 more years of Curry in his prime right now. I would put Curry ahead of LeBron James right now as far as that number 2 guy behind
I love this
Michael
so much.
Jordan.
All right, Jay Will.
I mean, what do you mean, all right?
I'm saying, all right, Jay Will.
You don't want to touch it, Jay?
Man.
Go ahead.
I love Steph. I think Steph is one of the most unique players the game of basketball has ever seen, ever. But to me, LeBron James is just, he's different. He's in a different individual category. We can get into all the metrics, right? Like he's the leader in points by 17,000 points over Steph, assists by 5,000 assists, rebounds by 7,000. He has 10,000. Steph has 3 blocks, steals, all of it. I mean, the only thing he doesn't lead statistically by a wide margin is number of threes that are made. But I've seen LeBron James drag teams to the NBA Finals that had no business at all being in the NBA Finals. So, I mean, we got into this debate the other day, Freddie, when Alan Yates was like, yo, would you rather be 6-0 in the finals or would you rather be 6-6 or whatever that record is for LeBron James?
Yeah.
And it was like one of those things like, I'd rather have gone there 13, 14 times. I've dominated the league for this extended period of time. So for me, I love Stephen Curry, but I'm not going to forecast that he's going to be the second greatest player ever to play this game of basketball. I'm not going to do that right now. I'm not going to do that. LeBron James or Cap, there are a lot of other guys that are put above Steph in that conversation.
You know what's so interesting about this, Freddie and Jay, is I wish I knew how to forecast something at Caesars or wherever we bet at and place money down, but I have my own board where I can forecast what would happen. And I think, Jay, you will remember this along with Yates and maybe Pat Costello if he wasn't working in TV at the time. When Steph Curry won his championship, what was the first thing I said, Jay?
You said people.
You remember?
You said people are going to start talking about him as one of the greatest. Didn't you say that, like the greatest?
No, I said what's going to happen is people are going to start to put him in front of LeBron James and have that conversation about the LeBron James, if Steph Curry. And if Steph Curry happens to win another one, imagine what that's going to do in terms of LeBron James. I don't personally think that Steph could catch LeBron because LeBron is so far out there already. He's so far in front of him that it would probably take him to win a couple more championships to really have a serious conversation. And I know Bobby Marks was a former general manager in this league and knows personnel people and all those sort of things. It's just very difficult to make Steph Curry the second best player of all time in the NBA. And I know he changed the game, but so did Magic Johnson. He changed the game. And so, you start to look at it a little bit different. He's not there. Does he slide into the top 10? Yes, it's no question about it. Where does that place him, right? The top 3 guys clearly are the Cap, LeBron James, and Michael Jordan. And then from there, you can argue whoever you want to argue. But Steph Curry belongs in that conversation. I just don't believe that you put him in number 2.
And first off, just the people who are diehard Steph Curry fans, you called it, Keith. You called it.
I knew they were going to do that.
You called it. It's not a slight to Steph Curry that we don't think he's the second best player to ever play the game. But some people who are diehard Stephen Curry fans will interpret it that way. And that's not the case. It's just LeBron James is different, man. What he brings on the defensive side of the ball, offensively, the way he impacts the game, each and every play. I think even Steph would tell you that he sees LeBron James as somewhat unique and different in the overall scheme of basketball.
Yeah, but I've always said for the longest time, to me, LeBron James is the greatest athlete that's ever played in the NBA because we haven't seen that kind of size of 6'8", that kind of build that can handle the basketball, that can run like that, and modern basketball can play 5 positions. Steph Curry's impact is that he's brought shooting back into the game, that he's made it look so easy that to do that people put more of a premium on shooting. In terms of impact, you can make whatever case you want. But I thought it was interesting that because of, to Key's point, the minute that Steph won that championship and it was the finals MVP, the lack of love for him really kind of ceased and has gotten to a different level now.
How many finals MVPs LeBron got?
LeBron has, what, 3?
What, 4?
4?
I think
He's won 4, yeah. Well, Steph, in my opinion, should have 2. At least 2.
I hear.
He should have the first one that Andre Iguodala was given to. Nothing against Andre Iguodala. But Steph Curry, come on, took over that series the first time he won the championship. He should have 2. That's neither here nor there. But when Bobby Marks said that, I did just like this. I went, oh, boy, here we go, because I knew what that was going to sound like on one side or the other.